Namaste and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. Sat means truth and logos means a study or science. Sattology means a science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology. Myth means a fake lie imagination. Mythology means a study of fake lie imagination or a science of fake lie imagination. Today we have chosen a very interesting topic and we have a very, very special guest that that India prides itself in calling itself an IT superpower, whatever. I don't think so. Those words have very little importance to me, but it's just self-given. Is a marketing technique. But the point is, the land of a largest group of intellectually capable people, and they are willing to be heard. They create very innovative products, but there is no access to them to the other places because the western the American and other western countries have flooded them with their own apps and other things, technology. So I have a very, very special guest, Shivank Agarwal, who is the CEO of a great company who is just starting off in India, and they need all our support. So without delay, let us welcome Shivank Agarwal.
Thank you so much, Aditya ji, for having me invited in this good and great show. And thank you so much for all the audience and your entire team who has been working to make this show a very successful one.
Thank you so much, Shivank. And people like you make us look good. Shivank, my first point is what are the so first of all, I would like to hear from you what does Mithro do? And the second thing is I want to know what are the challenges you face because of unwarranted foreign competition. And let me tell you one why I'm saying that. No American president will come on Indian app or a Chinese app. Never. It's not going to happen. No British prime minister or president they can come on American app, but not any other country's app. Okay. But India, with a country of 1.3 billion people and culturally diverse than the West, when they come on an American app or some other app, they get discriminated. It has been seen again and again and again. So we'll start from there. Please go ahead.
Sure. So yes, first thing about you asked about Mitron. So we launched Mithro as a social media application, as a short video app, and it was launched last year, 11th of April. And the idea was we have been working since last decade on bringing video as a solution to a lot of communication problems in India, right? And if we talk about last decade, around 2010, a lot of consumption of content or video content would happen on desktop or laptops, right? Likes of YouTube, Netflix, they've been more designed for laptops and desktop needs. Uh, 10 years down the line, what we have seen is they have directly jumped a mobile era and directly jumped into a television era. The good thing is this 10 years has coincided with internet revolution in India. We see a decade back there was hardly a 50 million user base in India, which has now grown to 600 million user base, internet user base, and it has coincided with mobile revolution. With cheap internet and people consuming internet like anything, video first short video app, especially designed for mobile application, makes a lot of sense for India. And there's been a lot of short video apps, though we agree that has happened, that has arrived in India in the last 2 or 3 years, but they have been more designed over specific, set of content. And when we talk about any short video application, they've been talked about, their recommendation engine would want you to see only those content that they're showing without, you having that flexibility to decide what content you're showing. So in that case, the neutrality of any application would be questionable. For us, the idea was any content, whether it's a humor or people talking about, news or opinions or everything, should be controlled by the audience, and they should be the center about what content they want to see on the application. So that was an idea, and I think since the beginning of our launch, people have accepted our solution. They have shown so much love to us. Within 2 months of our launch, we got more than 50 lakhs installed on the Play Store, with around 4 lakhs reviews that has come on Play Store. This is phenomenal for any startup, and that's the love of the people that we got. That's where we are in currently, and we were two members team when we just started. Now we have 60 members team, spreading across technology, product, marketing, and operations. So yes, we over the time we have developed our own editor tool, our own recommendation engine, and the idea is to provide India first and a quality solution which is liked by everybody.
It's a great concept. It's a great concept. Yes. Yeah, you're saying something. Sorry.
Yes. Your second question was around so many, applications flooded in Indian market don't have the Indian origin. I think that's right, and what I believe that, of course, the technology revolution that has started in US was 2 decades, older than when we started. So if we see startup ecosystem had just started a decade back in India. A lot of IT companies though have existed before that, but in a true sense, a lot of startups have flourished in the market only a decade back. And of course, there's a catch-up game that we have to play here. And the good part is, I mean, we started e-commerce and something which has been very superficial in terms of technology. Now we are building something which are deeper, deeply into technology. For example, the content space that we are in is more technology intensive than the products that have come a decade back. Though I agree that still we have a lot of catch-up game to play, but I believe that with the talent that's available in India, we'll be able to be in the front liner in technology, possibly in next 5 to 10 years.
No, you're absolutely right. See, most of the companies have become big on Indian talent. Like one thing is very well known in the US is the database effectiveness of Indians. Nobody can program like that, the database part. The second thing is Indians are very good in maintaining a continuous standard of production, like the standard of rollout. And all the big firms, big fives or big fours, whatever you call them, they have huge employee base in India. Collectively, they employ more than 2 million people, 20 lakh in India collectively. And they are also competing against the Indian service industry also. So far, you're right that the Indian focus has been on the service side because that makes them more money. But eventually, with the size of India, don't you think that India will have to come up with their own technology for many reasons? One is national security. Second is more respect for the Indian IT entrepreneur in the West. And the third, for the reason of protecting their own cultural values also.
That's right. So one thing for sure is we need to get into deep tech, and that includes artificial intelligence, blockchain, uh, quantum computing. Uh, uh, when we talk about artificial intelligence or deep learning, next 10 years will be taking a lot of jobs from any sector, right? And for that, shifting of the jobs from which makes less value to to building your own technology around artificial intelligence. I think we need to make that shift, and that shift has to happen very quickly. Otherwise, the foreign technology would power and would take a lot of jobs from the country. So overall idea is that shift would necessarily would come from from jobs which have been graded as of now, not creating that much of value, to building deep technologies. I think if we have to clearly ensure that, that those jobs don't go away, we have to ensure those technologies are developed in India. Otherwise, foreign technologies would come in India, they will take our jobs.
Many core concepts have come from the Western countries, and somehow the origin has been from India, somewhere or the other connected. But most of the core innovation has come from the foreign companies so far. And every single product is made with that psyche in mind in the West. Plus, they have created infrastructure also, like approval of apps, approval of these things. Do you think these kind of approvals, when you have to take as an Indian entrepreneur, and there's a chance of getting deplatformized, which is the biggest threat today? Even Parler got deplatformized for political reasons, purely political reasons. So free speech doesn't exist anywhere today, and especially social media, which was a harbinger of free speech, has become the biggest silencer of free speech also. So what are the challenges that you see on this front? Because there is a big politics of big tech also, because that's what controls the dollars. Then everyone is fighting for the same dollar.
That's right. So you have touched a very important subject here, and we have been one of the victim of our application Mithro getting barred from Play Store, and that was out of a sudden we weren't given any timeline to comply with their policies or whatever. So yes, we believe when we talk about cloud server or Play Store, that's very important that we have our own Play Store. Uh, you know, just to avoid the monopoly of one company, and payment is one of the thing that we are doing very well, and that's one thing that define the technology space of the country. Second is the store of the application, and third is server or cloud ecosystem. I guess if we crack all these three, we'll be a lot more independent than we are currently.
See, very few people are aware that the American government gives huge subsidies to Google and Apple and all the cloud-based systems other than IBM. IBM is not, but wherever the government servers are involved, like Amazon, they get huge subsidies from the US government. And US government gives free technologies. Whatever technologies are developed by the taxpayers, all American citizens, including myself, we have full access to that. And uh, and the that's creates the ecosystem. And see, most of the American data stays within the USA, and most of the Twitter data stays in the USA. Twitter has no servers outside of USA. So the American laws work on that. And so any American citizen can do whatever they want. At the end of the day, American government is obliged to protect them. So do you think that framework also needs to be developed? You said it very rightly that you need a cloud infrastructure, you need an app approval infrastructure, you need all those infrastructures so that you can be safe, that as an Indian citizen, your innovation is protected.
That's right. I mean, of course, as told, having that technology infrastructure in India is very important from the security point of view, as well as ensure that our sovereignty, our rights are protected, and none of the Indian companies should face the issues that we faced early on, getting barred without providing any reasons, right? So in that sense, a lot of collaboration is actually required. One, to have Play Store in India. Secondly, a lot of support from the government is to establish some of the companies who can work on cloud infrastructure as a service provider. And of course, when we talk about Amazon, AWS service, they have been in the market since a decade. Even Google is not able to compete with them, completely because they have been late in the market. So, of course, for any Indian companies to be, competing with AWS in Indian market would be very tough for them. Uh, what government can do is to support them by ensuring all PSU companies or public sector companies they onboard those services which are developed in India. That's one thing. Secondly, of course, any startups which are using cloud services hosted by Indian company should be getting some sort of subsidy or financial consideration by the government. That ecosystem has to be built. That I agree that won't be very natural, but that artificial ecosystem has to be developed to begin with, so as to ensure our Indian companies are given enough time, to develop their tech infrastructure and everything, to be at par with any foreign counterpart.
my basic logical question here is, both of us belong to the same industry. Now, my logical question is, like, if you are not storing your own data in your own legal space, as a legal space, you're not storing your apps, you have to take approval from other countries. How will the future entrepreneurs will be motivated to create new tech when they know that they can go away at any point? They can take an example of China. China created Alibaba Web Services, a carbon copy of AWS, Amazon Web Services. And it has become a biggest player now. Tencent is one of the biggest players there. And similarly, other Chinese data centers, they provide a technological space for the whole gamut of AI. So the number one AI is company in the whole world, the biggest is Microsoft. And in terms of countries, it is China in the AI space. Now, if without that infrastructure, how will an Indian entrepreneur flourish? What are
I
your
think
thoughts on that?
that's very crucial question, very important question. Comparing with China, China has been a closed economy, always, and India has always been an open economy. Uh, you know, for them, it's very easy to ban, AWS or Google services and ensure that, Chinese companies only uses in-house built cloud infrastructure. For Indian companies, since the market is so open, this becomes very difficult. So I think something has to be done, and it's not straightforward, but a lot of brainstorming is required to ensure I mean, we need a lot of solutions from different, sector of audience. I mean, a lot of deliberations like this should happen to ensure and to understand, what alternatives we can do. Well, instead of just blocking all the foreign services, what alternatives and what options are available to us to ensure uh, they are open. Foreign services are open for India, but our technology or our product, our concept should be given more privileges, more support than the foreign counterpart. But I don't have any right answer for now. But a lot of deliberation, a lot of thinking is required in this part.
Yeah, it's a is one of the things I have seen is that the Twitter, if Indian government, the Nigerian government bans it, they are rattled. If the Indian government bans it, Twitter will disappear, like practically disappear. If the Indian government bans Facebook, totally disappear. Now the Indian government bans YouTube, will be disappeared completely out. The point is that the majority of these foreign companies make revenues from India, and they make money from India, but they don't want to pay back. Like, they don't want to promote Indian entrepreneurs because, like you said, China is a closed economy, and today America is also closed economy. It doesn't allow, like, for example, just to see, just the example, vaccine diplomacy. We have seen that the Chinese Americans said that we will not, they want exemption from being prosecuted under Indian laws. That's what they wanted. And they said we won't provide any of the material. India has first hand example. So the sanctions economy also makes the American economy closed minded. So they like India to be open, but they want themselves to be closed. Because if the Indian companies start flooding the American market, then their innovation will stop because there are no buyers left. And exactly what China has done. But you can see the example of TikTok getting banned in USA. And then now there are talks of being acquired, but because of the change in administration, I think that has stopped. It's still a Chinese firm. So 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 when you say that it's a closed economy, India is an open economy, and that's the only rule, they want to keep it open so that they can sell their products. But then how will Indian entrepreneurs sell their own products if they don't have a space? So there is no level playing field now, because the dollar has a different value in the international market. Indian rupee has a different market. So most of the your revenue must be in Indian rupees. So when you're competing with an American dollar in the Indian market for an Indian rupee, there is no level playing field. So don't you think it's a necessity to create a level playing field now in India?
Yeah, I think see all your suggestions and questions are very valid, but there is no right and wrong answer because the problem is if we ban the likes of YouTube or Facebook, they'll ban the likes of Infosys or TCS because we are these companies have been benefiting a lot being a service provider for American counterpart. So nothing can be seen as black and white. This whole spectrum of gray that should be seen. And I think one step at a time. We cannot jump the gun. And the first thing is we need to ensure the quality products. Whether we are competing with likes of TikTok or whatever, we need to ensure that we provide the same quality of services that we have provided by foreign counterpart. That's happening. Now the second step is we need to see a lot of products from utility to content should be flourishing out of India. Just give you an example, Map My India is doing phenomenal job in some of the things that Google Maps has not been able to do so. So yes, change is happening, but since we have been stuck at such a point that neither we can block straight away all the services, neither can allow they dominate us 100%. So the thing is, one step at a time we have to take and ensure that Indian companies in the long run should benefit of whatever the decision and policies of the government are.
Yeah, changing the tack a little bit, changing one more aspect, bringing in there. See the investments now for the in raising investments in India. How easy it has been for you?
So one thing is, uh, a lot of investors are now very interested, to be very frank, in India, and they've been very bullish about the Indian market. So at least from that aspect, we are in a good spot, and especially Bangalore as a city has been liked by the investors. Though sitting in Bangalore or Mumbai or Delhi, or especially in now people have started developing startups, building startups from tier two cities like Lucknow. Tier one city, not a metro city like Lucknow. So yes, what we are seeing is people increasingly, building great innovation and technologies outside of the metro cities, right? So that's good thing that's happening. And I just forward a question.
Yeah, investor. How easy it is to raise
Yes,
funds?
sure. So yes, what I feel is India is a great destination for the investors and all the investors. I mean, we have been funded by 314 Capital, which is of course an Indian startup, Indian investor, and Nexus Venture Investor, which is an American investor. So these two investors have been, very bullish about what we are building. A lot of other investors have shown a lot of interest in what we are building. So from that aspect, we have been, I felt very comfortable in raising the fund, but the bottom line is we have to show the growth, the technology improvement, whatever we are building, so as to ensure that interest and rights of the investors are protected.
Yeah, one of the things which American corporations do, especially when you are a promising startup and of all the qualifications you have to decide, they get very easy listing to Nasdaq, very easy listing. So it's like the few investment managers would take it to Nasdaq very easily. So Indian stock markets is a wonderful place where if the laws are relaxed with some qualification, because currently the benchmark is so high that you cannot just go there.
That's right.
And that's how the American industry creates innovation using public money. So do you think that model can help you, that kind of model?
Definitely. I mean, from that aspect, I think there's a lot of improvement required, right from registering a company to making it public, and between there's so many layers where there's a lot of interaction between the companies and the government. A lot of ease is required, and a lot of bureaucracy and red tapeism is required to be removed. Uh, And I think if we make listing in stock market easy, that will give a lot of incentives to the investors to be looking into Indian market or Indian startups more seriously, and ensuring they get their returns. And I think if we make our markets public markets very accessible to Indian startups, that will bring in a lot of innovations. So I think that would be a very good suggestion to go to the government.
Yeah. So another aspect is the tax, easy listing on the stock markets. And the third aspect is the quality of resources, which is a big struggle in India. Like you take 20, if you take the engineering schools, what they're teaching, and most of the students, you must have experienced a lot, and most of the students are not ready for this high tech, big tech, or deep tech, which you mentioned just now, are not ready for that. So do you think the curriculums also need to change for giving emphasis on that? India is the Americans, they rely on India for databases. That's where the majority of the service industries work. It's a very lazy job. It's a not a lazy, it's a very, you can say, time consuming work, a lot of patience work, which Americans don't have. And other most of the Western countries also don't have that kind of patience. But India has. That is the culture in India. Don't you think the change in education system also needs to happen? The curriculums need to happen so that you can get employable employees.
I think uh, fro- I mean, first of all, education system is required to be overhauled completely. One thing is, we follow a very structured way of learning, and that makes students like us not be thinking apart from the studies, right? And we know that in 12th we have to do best in PCM, physics, chemistry, and mathematics. That would take us in the best engineering colleges. And then we have to study a couple of projects that ensure that we are well placed in the companies. So I think that set mindset has to be completely shaken. And one thing is what we should be focusing a lot is on entrepreneurship from right from the college school days, right? Students in school should be asked to sell whatever they have developed. For example, any kind of services or anything they develop, or they should be able to sell it. And I think if we develop that mindset in the students, that that will take a long way. That will actually help them establish what's required of them, right? And that will actually help them be the future leaders in the tech industry. One thing is what we have seen is a lot of youths in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, especially in rural areas, they have been their entrepreneurship skills is way higher than people like us sitting out of metro cities, because they have been involved in real occupation, right? And that's what all these qualities have to be built in everybody, right? And if that happens, I think a lot of the way we think, that the way we look at things would improve a lot. So I think again the second part is arts, and uh, sectors like music, arts, all these things have to be improved a lot. One thing is what we have seen is people are increasingly showing interest in online videos, right? They have been posting a lot of wonderful videos, right, from showing a particular skill like music or singing, or from cooking something. So I think if we can build upon these skills of the people, they'll be able to become their entrepreneurs in their own way, right? So I think it's first we have to break a set of ideas that are forcefully fit in our mind, that everybody has to become an engineer or a doctor. That has to be removed, and let people think about what job or what occupation or whatever they enjoy doing it. They should be able to earn their living out of that.
It brings me another question now, because you touched upon a very important matter. I'm also a firm believer in that the arts, humanities, the focus should be on values, not on skills, because skills can be added anytime in life. Now, one of the principal uh, innovation areas, look at Japan, look at any other country we have, and we don't have to look others, we have to look inside. The Sanskrit language has more consonants and vowels. So naturally, you have more options to program, and so therefore it becomes a so the same language. The keyboards, if they're structured there, so the QWERTY keyboard, which is the Western keyboard, has limited programming scope. So if the Indian programming is developed and the processors are developed for that kind of programming, where we focus on a local, because India is still if you look at Times of India, it just touches 2% of the Indian population, 2%, 3%, or maximum 7, 8, mostly in the cities. And we are speaking in English right now. But if you promote the Indian languages, if you promote the Indian languages based innovation, then the scope of innovation and the ideas of innovation will be higher. Don't you think that?
Yes, I mean, there was one research that has been published. I'm not sure which university has published that any language which is the most computer friendly language is Sanskrit. And everything is so, so exactly, embedded with rules and regulations is that, you cannot break any rule in Sanskrit, right? And, that's what computer requires. So I think that genius in Indian mind has always been there. We have developed a language like Sanskrit. So I think the overall idea has been, you know, when when we talk about Hindi or Sanskrit, there's always been a feeling of you know, especially in the minds of the youth, that these languages are not at par with English, and English is a superior language. So I think that the mindset has to be broken, and we need to take pride in our language. And I think we are blessed to have languages like Sanskrit, right? And with new education policy that has come into picture, will come into limelight in next 2 years, has focused a lot on Indian languages, especially regional languages as well. So I think government has taken the cognizance of this matter, and with new education policy, I think people will be more willing to accept Indian languages.
And more ideas will also come, more innovations will
That's
also come. Like you
that's
said,
that's
the
right.
villages have more business skills than the cities,
That's
mostly because
that's right.
cities are creating employees and the villages are creating entrepreneurs. That's what
Entrepreneurs.
pretty much you said that. And I have seen also a person from village is more likely to succeed in a business than person from city.
That's right.
You know,
Because he has seen the real world, and he has seen, how to earn, from a single rupee to whatever he has been making business capabilities. So he has seen the world from the very basic. So I think a lot of these nitty gritties have escaped our attention. So I think they've been blessed to have been more attached to the ground, and that's why they are more business minded. They know better how to earn money than the people like us.
that's right. No, and one of the things I see in the Mithro app, generally, the experience with the Ku app. See, when you try to copy a Western UI, user interface, which is designed for the Western audience, the mindsets are different. Like when I see an app, I look for something else. Like I look for, but we have to get used to it. So how Indianness plays an important role in Mithro.
Yes. So first of all, I mean, we when we started, we ensured that all the languages. So we started with 15 languages in India, right? So the idea was we truly want it as an Indian product. as an Indian alternative to foreign counterpart, we need to ensure that we are giving equal importance to the regional languages. And Hindi is, of course, is the primary language on Mithro. And this is one thing. Secondly, you know, the way people think, for example, the emojis or the icons, is something we have to we had researched a lot what type of icons people are very comfortable about. Even on our editor tool, what all stickers people are willing to share on the platform. So those nitty gritties and those detailing has been done when we designed Mithra.
So the most of the viewership is on the Android or iOS. Are you on both of them? Apple as well?
We are on both of them, but more than 95% of our audience is on Android.
Right. Now, there is a drawback to that. Both of them are even though they're open source, but they're still controlled. The source is maintained in one location, which is either Google maintains it or Apple maintains it. So don't you think there is a need of an Indian iOS or Indian OS also for the mobile phones to make the mobile phones truly Indian? Otherwise, there are security issues also there. You must be paying a lot of attention to security.
I think that will also come one step at a time. We need to have Android version designed for India and by the Indian companies. That's step one. And of course, second step is overhauling the whole operating system according to our needs. There's a step two. I think uh, we should not be jumping directly on step two because the whole uh, development process that Google has taken, it's just been a 10 years for them, would be very difficult for any company, and for it would be not a good thing for the startup ecosystem. So yes, one step at a time. Secondly, I think more than a language, the Play Store, that application store should be in India. That becomes very important, and there should be some law in the country that any OEM, uh, whether it's Chinese or American or Indian, should have one Indian app store along with Play Store.
Hmm. That's right.
So then the end user would want either to choose Indian App Store to install an application or the Play Store. Currently, the problem is, Aditya ji, if there is anybody would want, to have their own Play Store application, they have to partner with OEM. It's not straightforward. It's not directly, asking user to install this application because it has to be, rooted in the device.
No, absolutely true. Because this is a common problem we have, and also a foreign company locating their data store in India doesn't mean Indian sovereignty over the data. Don't you? Do you agree with that?
Uh, Partially yes, partially no. One thing is, for example, for the payment, the government said that any company who wants to establish, or integrate UPI as a payment platform should have all the data payment related information in India. Though they have specifically not mentioned it should be in Indian servers or American servers, because currently we don't have any Indian servers to be supporting that. So yes, that's again, the government is limited to geography. There should be on Indian server. Even AWS India cannot transfer those data in outside of India, right? So that's one thing. Secondly, of course, behind the scene, what they are doing is totally, opaque to us.
That's right.
So, of course, if there is an Indian server, of course, that confidence that those data is private to Indian servers and it's not shared outside of India. I think that confidence will be more. But yes, I think the bigger companies like Reliance or Geo have to play a major role to ensure that we have that infrastructure as a service platform available in India, because for smaller companies like us it would be very difficult to have those cloud infrastructure in place.
That's
So
right.
I think bigger companies have to play that role.
That brings to another question. Since you understand technology very well, the digital currency. Now, digital currency is is like generated in the free air, and a lot of regulations are there nowadays. But gradually, other countries are doing it now. Now, digital currency, the way you generate it is heavily energy dependent. You have to run processors at a certain space, requires a lot of energy. I mean, solar, they use a lot of solar energy for that to cut down the cost. So do you think that the digital currency will ever make sense in a scenario like India, other than the regulations?
For now, cryptocurrency is used only for trading purpose. I don't think it's even used for the transaction purpose. Of course, energy concern is always there. The second thing is, since the whole system is so decentralized, even in Bitcoin, the average transaction takes 60 minutes to process, around 10 to 20 seconds in Ethereum. While when you have, the whole currency is managed by one entity like, Paytm or, RBI, so, or banks, so that process is happening only on one server, right? So of course, cryptocurrency transaction definitely takes a lot of time, and I I would, give it a thought that it may get used for a bigger transaction, but for a daily day-to-day transaction which happens for a smaller amount of money, I don't think, that would come very quickly, especially for a country like India. But I do think there's a lot of other useful application of blockchain that we should seriously consider, especially when, maintaining a record of land or ownership of land, that becomes very important. And I think, blockchain as a technology can and solve a lot of problems for a country like India.
See, AI has been the buzzword in by many political leaders, and they all talk about AI, artificial intelligence. And I always say that common intelligence is needed more than artificial intelligence. AI is old technology; it's 37 years old. But the problem in the AI is that if you do not have good regulations, then machines take over, and it is a big problem also, because you do not know, you lose control if you build so much of memory based processing. So do you think that you will use ever AI in your Mithro, or if you use, what kind of case studies you might use? I don't want to reveal your trade secrets, but you have to, what is your view on that?
I think with every technology, there's always the pros and cons.
Yeah.
And I think, the pros of AI is huge. And of course, the downside of technology, that has to be, ensured that uh, people don't play a devil, by playing on the downside of AI. So, for example, a lot of videos has been started getting created when you are able to replace the face of the person with another person, right? And that becomes a lot of challenge for any policing or, any security agency, because you don't know that that video is doctored or not. And similarly is for voice. So I think these are a downside of artificial intelligence. And if we have enough policies or, safeguards to ensure that we don't play with the downside of technology or artificial intelligence, then I think artificial intelligence can solve a lot of problem for us. Of course, we have to ensure that uh, for a country like India should not be replacing the jobs of the country. If that's happening, we have to ensure that we upgrade our citizens, so that the end result is not because of technology they are losing jobs. That's the worst thing to happen for the country like India, is still struggling for jobs, right? So I think we have to understand that, for a country like India, the problems are different than for USA, right? And if we play on technology to ensure that our problems get solved, for example, artificial intelligence in traffic controlling or signaling in railways, that can be a good, because railways are the backbone of the country. That's a good deployment of artificial intelligence. So yes, we have to understand what's good for us in AI, and just not blindfoldedly copy, American innovations or American applications which solve their problem, which may not solve our problem.
Yeah, case studies have to be tailored for the local usage.
Yes, sir.
The last question I have is: social media has increased mental disorders everywhere throughout the world. Narcissist behaviors have become very common. TikTok is one major source of depression to people. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and the addiction to the social media has destroyed the social fabric in many places. So what safeguards do you think should be there so that we avoid that problem?
Okay. Okay. So one thing is, of course, the biggest problem is the success of any application is considered as, the average engagement time. How much time the people are spending on the application. And if that becomes a key metric of the success of any application, everybody would want the users to be hooked on the application. And that's the reason everybody is so sticky about different applications, from the gaming to social media, right? Uh, and of course, they would want the exposure time to increase, because, of course, that brings in more advertisement for them, right? I think, of course, they would never want, the reverse of that to happen, right? For parents, we have to ensure that the kids, their kids remain, not so glued on the application, right? And what we are seeing, even, I mean, the drawback of technology again is like kids like 5 years, 6 year old, they have been glued to the mobile devices. That may be a boon for them if they are learning on that device. But if they are playing games on that device, then it's a challenge for them, right? So again, I think technology has both this, positive side and the negative side. And we as a human, we always have the nature to be more attracted to its negative side of anything. So that's human nature, and I think we have to play, as a society, we have to play active role, not to become a slave of technology. We have to be a master of technology.
That's right. Technology, we should not be controlled by the technology. We should control
Yes,
the technology, very much. One more point brings to my mind is your own personal belief a little bit. So I always say innovation comes from the past. I've written in my books everywhere. It doesn't come. Nobody has seen the future. Innovation has come from it comes from the past. So how important role, like the scriptures like Ramayana and Mahabharata, can play a role in building new innovations? There are a lot of ample stories of the what has been done in the past. Somehow we forgot. So we were made to forget things. So how those ancient scriptures of India can play a role in spurring innovation?
sure. I think Sanjeevani is a very good example of, the age-old tradition of, the India to create medicines, right? Or Indian subcontinent to create medicines. So, we are blessed to have, that rich heritage, that a lot of our answers lie in the past, right? And I think it's only, we have to look beyond, beyond, the era of, 10, 20 years, which we believe has been the only contributor to technology. I think the real technology has started way beyond centuries, right? So yes, the idea is to look around us surrounding, to look from our sculptures to from our Vedas, and to take good points from there.
Thank you so much, Shivank. It is a pleasure to speak with you, and we'll invite you for more specific sessions later on. And thank you all the viewers for watching it live. And I think innovation is the key, but Indian innovation is lacking behind for various things. Watch the whole interview to find out yourself. Namaste and thank you.
Namaste. Thanks, Saritaji. Thank you so much.